the journey that Ethan Hunt and his team go through. It is an odyssey, and definitely inspired and reflective of that story. It's an epic tale. It's a personal tale, and there's incredibly huge stakes, emotional stakes, I think, for the characters. I just love working with McHugh, and the way that he approached this, he said, I'm going to honor Mission Impossible, and I'm going to direct this like I'm another director. And he did it. He really, the visual style is different. It still has his, I think it has his bold sensibility of storytelling, kind of, Mission is a tougher mission, you know. It's not less entertaining, but it's just got, I think we just pulled out all the stops. As I said, all the missions have led to this one, and McHugh, he's a very elegant filmmaker, and he's a classic filmmaker. But, I love his wit. I love the toughness of the movie and the characters, and it's just a beautiful movie. I can't wait for eyes to see it. I'm so, you know, proud of my friend, and when I look at the movie, I'm going through it, I'm like, McHugh, look, I mean, he really is just enormously talented, and it's always such a joy to work with him. The Mission Impossible team, it's going to be Rebecca Ferguson, who plays Ilsa, but really, the core team is going to be Simon, myself, and Ving. That is the core team, and that is the core Mission Impossible team. And Ilsa is, I can't really say that Rebecca is, you have to see the movie, but you'll see what happens with Rebecca's character. But that is the core mission team, and Alec Baldwin as the secretary. Each actor, I think, is very charismatic, very dynamic, and I'm interested in all their stories. And when I see them all together, I lean into that story, and that's what I want out of a movie. That I want an audience to experience, you know, that on screen. As some of my favorite movies is like you just have a group of great actors just hitting their stride, and that's something that I know McHugh and I work very hard on and think about, and it's really what we love about movies and storytelling. Simon Pegg came on, and you know, we had him on MI3, and I loved, you know, I saw him in, you know, Shaun of the Dead. And basically, I was like, this guy, and JJ and I were like, this guy's fantastic. And he came in and did, you know, like a day or two on MI3, and look at the progression of his character. And then when McHugh came in, and then Brad Bird, we wanted to bring Simon back. Ilsa's, you know, of course, the character's inspired name from, you know, Casablanca, one of our favorite characters and actresses, and it just so happened that, you know, when Rebecca, we were like right down to the wire, and luckily, you know, we found her, and she came in and read and was incredible. And you just see what a dynamic presence she has, very charismatic and athletic, and just, I think, you know, just uniquely holds the screen. I work with people that I admire, people that I respect, and I love these actors, and I love them in these characters. And for Ving as Luther, you know, Ving and I are really the ones that go all the way back to the beginning. And it's interesting with Ving, because Ving came on, and I met him, and I loved his work. I said, well, you and I, you know, really got to work with you. There's just something there, and I think that, you know, when you see that story and how it's, you know, just layered through all of the movies, really, and even in, you know, and this one, he's got a great part, and there's a great dynamic with Ving Rhames in this one, and him playing Luther. Something about when he plays that character, it's so engaging and surprising to me. We talked about emotion in this one, because I think it is a culmination of all the missions, this one. And you can't have that emotion without bringing Julia back in. And I mean, to have Michelle back, I just think her work is incredible, and I can't wait for audiences to see what she's done, to just have her back and see she's really exceptional. Her work is exceptional, and again, just a wonderful person, very, very talented. So that's what we wanted. We wanted to bring that back, and that's what I talk about in terms of all the missions leading to this one. Henry was so helpful and so professional throughout. Like I said, I get to work with people that I really respect, that I want to work with, and I've enjoyed his work also in the past. I just thought this guy is really talented, and he came to this film and he really brought it. People will see in this movie he is pulling no punches and not holding anything back, and he's very committed. And the things that we're able to do that I appreciate, you know, the whole helicopter sequence, it's practical. So, you know, the stuff that he had to do, he had to be in that other helicopter, and we're flying around, and it was, I'm telling you, it was freezing when we were flying around in New Zealand, and the things that we were doing, it was extreme, and he just went for it. Angela Bassett, I just remember seeing her on screen, you just go, this woman is powerful. She just exudes intelligence, power, credibility, and that character that I just, you know, McHugh wrote for her, I love it. And she crushes it. When she's on screen, she's a force of nature. And again, just wonderful, wonderful woman, and I loved working with her every day. It's a love letter to Paris and London, always a love letter to London, great locations there. Norway, beautiful locations in Norway. India, and also we shot in New Zealand, the helicopter sequence in New Zealand, beautiful country. We could not have gotten that helicopter sequence without the help of New Zealand. We could not have shot in Paris without all the help of the Parisians, or the skydiving sequence that we shot with the UAE military. So we shot there also, and it is definitely the scope of the film is enormous, and I think the story wants that. And so these beautiful locations that we went to, and every time it was like Norway, we're climbing the side of a mountain. It's quite extreme. And you know, of course, London, we had the foot chase in London. New Zealand was the helicopter sequence we shot. I mean, I was inches away from sides of cliffs and right on the tail of Henry's helicopter, and we were going hard there. It was very intense, very extreme, as I know an audience will experience. And we shot in Abu Dhabi, and we had the UAE military, where we're able to jump out of a C-17 and do a halo jump from there, very high up, and a sequence that is quite extreme. To do things practically, to apply it, how can we immerse an audience into an environment, into a story, into a character, and then put them in extreme action and do it practically? There's something, whether an audience realizes it or not, there's just something different about when you're watching it, when you're seeing it. That's always something that I'm trying to push myself in every way, to use everything that I have, my talent, my physical ability. It does make a difference. It's something about it that, and as time goes on, you know, it's interesting looking at a Mission Impossible trailer, you put it up against other trailers, and it's just different. It just has a different, you know, different look, a different vibe, and that's what I want to give an audience. A halo jump is a high altitude, low opening. That's what it means, that it's a jump where you're jumping from a very, very high altitude and you open very low. So this sequence basically takes place over Paris. We're at a very high altitude, above 35,000 feet, and we're opening just above the Grand Palais. And we're doing that so that the aircraft that we're in looks like a commercial airliner, and they don't know that we're military and we're jumping into the Grand Palais, and that's why the halo jump. The halo sequence is something McHugh and I talked about for a long time, and we were told on numerous occasions that it's impossible what we were thinking, and it's never going to happen. We were like, okay. So basically what McHugh did is he designed the sequence, and also the sequence takes place at night as the sun has set. So essentially we realized we have a 3-minute window upon which I jump out of the air. We do the scene inside the aircraft and jump out, and then I have to fly down and be within 3 feet of the lens, because he's pulling focus, which is something that's never been done before in the air, because he's using a film camera. He's having to pull focus while he's also skydiving, and I'm skydiving down to him, and I have to be within 3 feet of him. 3 feet, not 2.5, not 3.5. It has to be 3 feet because of the depth of field, because of the light and the lens that we were using. And there was just also the thing that I needed to train in skydiving, extreme training, because the sequence is incredibly grueling. It's very technical. It's very dangerous, to be honest. And so with all that said, we ended up just pushing it to the end of the schedule. It was a very long schedule. And constantly for me, I'm not only acting in the movie and producing the film, I'm doing all my own stunts in there and all my own action in there, from motorcycles, cars, skydiving, helicopter, and constant kind of physical training throughout the day. So we shot this at the end of the movie. I finished the film, went to Abu Dhabi, and luckily the United Arab Emirates really stepped up and helped us. They said, we will give you our C-17. We will help you accomplish this, because we have a great relationship. When I climbed the Burj there in Dubai, and they loved movies, and they knew what it was we were trying to accomplish, and they wanted to be part of it. And I'm very grateful to them. They allowed us to use their C-17. So then we had to figure out, how do we get the shot? And we didn't know whether we would actually be able to do it until we were there on the ground in Abu Dhabi and trained in it, and figured out how to exit out of the aircraft, because the aircraft's going between, the C-17s between 160 and 200 miles an hour. So with that level of turbulence, we had to find a way to exit the aircraft, even for me to be able to get close to that 3 feet. We broke it down to 3 sections. And then we only got 1 take a day. So I spent the whole day training, and then at night we would get that 1 take. And it was 1 take. And if there was 1 mistake, that was it. The take was gone. And we couldn't, we had to do it again. So we thought we were going to be there about a week. We ended up being there, I don't know how long we were there, over a month, maybe 5 weeks I was there training and then to shoot. And the more times we rehearsed it, we just didn't want to be so exhausted that by the time the take came at night that we were physically unable to do it. And also when you're going up to altitude like that, up and down, I mean in the C-17, they're limited to only 3 hops above 18,000 feet a day. And at times we were doing way more than that. I mean the team, not the C-17 pilots. In another order, we were going above that, training during the day and then doing it. So we had to really figure out, how we can get this done. It's a movie, you can't shoot it forever. When we have a release date, and you also don't want to be tired when you're doing it, because you want all of your wits about you as we're performing. It's not just a skydive, I'm acting as I'm doing it. So there are many factors, and obviously we talk them through very carefully. When I go to do something like this, I'm not someone who does it on a whim. I'm very meticulous on how I prepare physically, mentally, with everyone in the whole team, and there's tons of briefings, and I really create a team environment, and one that I push for excellence. But obviously what we're doing is extreme, and all of us know it, and all of us are very respectful of that and don't take it for granted. And it's definitely challenged all of us. I mean, these skydivers that I was diving with also, they all had thousands and thousands of jumps. I didn't. And it's something that none of us took for granted, and every jump I was looking to, how do I improve my skill, what do I do, how can I do it better? So all of that, we had to keep in mind. Once we got that last take, that was a wrap. We finished the movie. And we don't get a chance to come back and get it again. So McHugh and me, we just looked it over and called the crew together and showed them the take, and we were just all there. It was like we all made the decision together. And you could just see, when we finally said, this is the take, there was just, everyone was so excited and so proud of what we all accomplished. And I think that that is the greatest feeling, and why I think I'm addicted to movies. It is something where you're working with enormously talented people in every department that want to entertain that audience. They all love movies, and they're using all of their skills to try to create something for an audience, and make something that they can feel proud of, you know. And when that moment happens, it's amazing. It's an amazing feeling, and one that you don't ever forget, really. I went to Airbus, and I trained at their facility in Dallas, Texas. They were really wonderful and helped me, you know, throughout. I wanted to fly the Airbus helicopter, where they call it the Squirrel. The thing is, when I'm flying a helicopter, I'm not just flying the helicopter. Just the same thing when I'm driving a car or a motorcycle. I'm also, a lot of times, when I'm there with the cameras, I'm setting a frame. So there are times that I'm flying a helicopter and I'm setting a frame for Henry when I'm behind his other helicopter, plus there's an aerial helicopter. So, plus I'm acting as I'm going and flying the helicopter, and flying it low, flying it fast, flying it close to the mountains and the grounds. But obviously, there was a lot of resistance, actually, to me doing this particular stunt. And number one, it's never been done before in the way that we wanted to do it. The extreme nature of the flying. And of course, everyone wants to make sure that it's going to be safe. And so I made sure, and one of the things that I do is I have these guys, you know, I try to surround myself with the best people, the best group, and have them challenge me and see how good am I? Am I good enough to be able to do this? So a lot of stuff that I wanted to do in terms of flying low under trees, I was able to get the aircraft into a spin and do those spins at very low G and low airspeed, and be able to pull out at very low level. Wing overs, these kinds of things that are extreme with a helicopter, and the things that we were doing were extreme, very close proximity. And of course, look, I want them to trust me, and I want to be able to trust them when you're flying with someone and you're that close. So I did a lot of preparation, and every step of the way I made sure that I just didn't come in going, oh, it's me, I can do this. I was like, guys, you know, you have a right. You know, we're all professionals here, and please put me through my paces and test me to see my ability, and I want to make sure that you feel comfortable with my ability and you understand my ability. And so I always try to do that. Those are the things that we worked on, and those pilots, they really put me through my paces to test me, and rightfully so. And that's what I wanted, actually. And in doing that, it also increases my ability. And then we end up having, you know, an amazing time. It was the most extraordinary time in New Zealand. New Zealand is breathtakingly beautiful. And to be able to travel through New Zealand with a helicopter and the places that we're able to go, most people aren't allowed really to go in those areas. And the helicopter that I had, as I said, the Squirrel it's a cool looking helicopter. It has tremendous amount of power. Of course, we're in the mountains, it's high altitude. So I needed every bit of that power. Plus I have cameras hanging off of the helicopter. And so it was extreme. It was like everything in Mission. Every day was filled with adrenaline. I know that everyone sighed a massive sigh of relief when we finished there, and I think we're all very proud of what we accomplished. So the long line. That was intense, I have to say. I mean, my adrenaline was definitely flowing in this movie. It was the kind of free fall into the bag. There was an impact there at that point. And I went out in an afternoon and kind of rehearsed it really only once. That's one of those things you just want to go out. I just rehearsed it once. I did the climb once and I did the fall once, because it's a climb. And I have to try to climb as fast as I can up that rope. And that was a heck of a workout. I ended up having to do it. It was freezing on that day too. I mean, luckily the sun came out, but it was freezing. You're traveling. I was like, oh, please. My hands were numb. I'm going up this thing, and basically, you know, when I climbed it, and I was like, okay, how will I make the fall work, you know? And what happens is I put my feet up and I'm just I'm hanging on the stress and I'm holding on. And so that's it's like, so you let go and I'm just falling. And you see the take in there. It's like I hit that bag and I roll over now. And when I roll over, I have to roll over the bag and then kind of grab the side of the bag so my body doesn't come out. So I kind of disappear underneath the bag. So I'm rolling and I hit and I'm glad because I hit perfectly, I hit right on my back, but it is an impact. And then I have to climb back up. And I remember climbing back up and I'm like, look, I'm gonna climb onto the skid now and I'm gonna go into the helicopter. And, we hadn't really planned for that. And so I just climbed out on the skid and I got on the side of the skid and then kind of got in the helicopter and sat there and it worked. The foot brake. That was intense. We were doing that. It was one of those things. And you see it, I have a cable above me and a cable just in case I fall. But my thing is that I'm gonna run as fast as I can. I'm actually gonna try to make it to the other side. That's how you have to do that stunt. And first 2 takes, I went in quite hard and it knocks the wind out of you. It takes you a little bit, you're like, okay, it's just, you have to recover just from the wind being knocked out of you. But it looked cool. So I was like, all right, let's, I can do this. And so I went in and the second I hit the wall, I was like, oh man. And I remember I was like, oh, and I looked down, I was just to check it and I was like, I gotta keep going. So I crawled over the wall just to get past camera because I knew this is the take. It's like, I can't work, this is gonna wrap. I knew instantly it was broken. Called McHugh in and the guys and I said, I'm sorry, it's a wrap. I broke my ankle, And they looked at me, they're like, well, how do you know? I said, I know, it's broken. Just let's get me to hospital. I did everything possible to get back, and in 6 weeks we were filming, and in 10 weeks I was able to start running again. I loved the TV series when I was growing up. I loved the music, and to be able to turn it into a feature film and really take it from a Cold War series to this, to bring it to modern audiences and cinema is something that is without a doubt, the most challenging films to produce. It's challenging films to make. The sequences, McHugh and I will spend, a lot of time, sometimes a couple years working on different sequences. And obviously, Mission is about practical action. That's what we want to do. We want to look at things and see how, in every way, can we create a movie that is elegant, that is entertaining, that is high in aesthetics, that is gripping, and use all of our skills as filmmakers. And it challenges every department, and you can just see their faces every day. As we're going through it, it's such hard work, but there's an exhilaration also, and I think a real joy from everyone that they have the opportunity to challenge themselves in this manner.